Hi everyone, welcome to On the Horizon, a video series hosted by HyBridge Solution in partnership with Infor. In each episode we explore the latest trends, tools, and strategies to help healthcare organizations make smarter decisions. Today's focus is supply and contract management. Joining me today are two incredible experts, Melissa Amell, a supply chain executive at Infor, and Jim Kripps, Solutions Architect, and Supply Chain Team Lead at HyBridge Solution. I'm Kelly Trapp, a Supply Chain Consultant here at HyBridge, and I'll be your host for this discussion. You two ready to get started?
We are.
Yeah.
I have some questions I will be asking. This first question, I'm going to start off with you, Melissa, and then Jim, I'll have you do some feedback after Melissa's answer. With rising costs, supply chain disruptions, and pressure on provider margins, how are healthcare organizations shifting their approach to supply and contract management in 2025 and beyond?
I ran healthcare supply chains my entire career, and it's not interesting, but aren't these common themes throughout the years that we've been working in the supply chain? It's like, I can remember, how can you do more with less, the rising costs, what are you going to do about your data? And I think that the common themes continue. I think that because of the pandemic and how just disruptive that was, the enormity of that, when people were really questioning their strategies, there was a lot of conversation about how are we sourcing, how are we contracting for these things, the language within the contracts around disruption or failure to supply changed. I think too, they were looking at their operations within their organizations, the movement of product. We saw so many things that happened where people were standing up, off-site warehouses, and it really made them really think about their strategy going forward and their operational strategy going forward. And I think that theme definitely has continued today, looking at some of the advanced technologies that have hit the market and looking at supply chain, looking at their maturity, not only as an organization in operations, but within their functionality as well. So those are a lot of the conversations that I think are continuing. And it was that time period when I really think people kind of took a step back and said, okay, is this the way I'm going to continue on? I know that within Infor, we did the same thing as well, just looking at our software and looking at the problems and where are the areas that we can focus more on to really help the customer base in supply chain.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Melissa, that you mentioned that. You talk about the pandemic, but even since the pandemic, we've had natural disasters that wipe out manufacturing facilities. We've had port strikes that have slowed down the supply chain, and we've had tariffs recently that are being disrupted. So all those things come together to play with exactly what you were talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's made organizations look at a lot more difference on their policies and procedures.
Agreed.
For sure.
Yep. Agreed.
Great answer. This next question is for you, Melissa.
Okay.
How is Infor helping healthcare organizations improve data transparency across supply management and contracting? And what capabilities within the platform are the most important?
Yeah, I think, I've been with the organization a little bit over 6 years, and coming into this organization, again, with my past history, really a focus on MMIS and ERP and master data management, value analysis. I think the customer base and the market will see that we really try to strengthen our relationships with the GPOs, with the third-party data providers, with some of the distributors, and really trying to work towards a standard in integration, not having this fall upon the customers every single time to recreate the wheel. So I think that over the course of the last couple of years, you have seen where those relationships have strengthened, especially with the third-party data providers like GHX and Symmetrics, and really having standard integrations that we can offer the customer base. The other area is data standards. It's a conversation that we have internally here at Infor. Most recently, again, UBI and really, participating in the UDI community is ARM. Where we're trying to cross collaborate and really get UDI to, people actually using the UDI within the systems and within their practices. I think that's an area which then, you can talk about contracting as well. Infor is uniquely positioned in contract management. We have a tool that is very unique to us. The way that we talk to customers about contract management is, you really can make that your inception point for all product data attributes to include price. Really approaching contracting and price management very proactively, and then utilizing our clinical bridge tool, which is our clinical interoperability tool, to really drive that data to the EMR and to other business systems. So you really establish the ERP as that source of truth for product data, and then drive the other systems. So there's those areas. I think the other area that I and it definitely came out, the concept came out of the pandemic, and it's around a new functionality we have called distribution management, which is limited availability right now, but it's where we're building additional capabilities inherent to the ERP to manage warehousing and distribution. It's about that internal distribution network, that IDN, and the movement of supplies within the organization. Just trying to address the disruption, having the right product and the right unit of measure at the right time. So I think, those are the areas that we're really focused on to really kind of drive data and data transparency.
That's wonderful. Sounds like Infor is right in the middle of everything, which is what we need, right?
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jim, next question's to you. Based on your experience, where do healthcare organizations often struggle with visibility and supply chain data, and how does HyBridge help clients overcome these barriers?
Yeah. And Melissa's kind of already touched on some of this, but where I see a lot of the struggles lately is with getting that data from your ERP, from Infor, into your electronic medical records system, and making sure that they are staying in sync. We have that ability now within Infor to create those items as a contract. They're not in the item master. We're not cluttering up the item master with 50,000 records, but we create that item in contract, and we mark those for the clinical system, and they get pulled into the clinical system as a record, and we keep those systems in sync in that manner.
Mm-hmm. And I have noticed that there's a lot more clients moving this direction.
Yes.
Which has been huge for all of us, especially in the last 3 years. Contract management has just become a backbone for everybody. So that's
absolutely.
They're managing and utilizing contract management much more than when it was first offered. So I love seeing this. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kelly, if you think about it, you can't do anything without a price.
Correct.
So either you're getting it on the front end proactively, or you're running around trying to secure that on the back end. And we're really trying to push customers into a more proactive approach. So the information is vetted, it's accurate, and it's available for use.
Yes.
Yep. And what we've seen over the years, we've all done this a number of years. We know when you build an item master, you don't have any easy means to go back and put that to a price, to attach that price to the product. So then we have errors that pop out when somebody tries to order it on a requisition or on a purchase order that requires you to still go back and manually key that price in. As you said, Kelly, putting that as a backbone to the system, the contract being the backbone of that system, now we're putting that price in up front rather than trying to marry up those items that don't have a price.
Yeah, and again, in the item master approach, you're maintaining items you may or may not use, because they may or may not be used on a patient. The majority of those items that Jim talks about around the contracted specials are your implants, where you have to have that information available to chart and bill against if used.
Yeah,
exactly.
And just the maintenance of an item master, right? You have to have the personnel to support that. Now you could put more into your contract side and have more analytics around your pricing, and your personnel are doing more analytical work and contracting and pricing work. Take care of it on the front end helps your end users.
Yes.
The better data you have, like you state, is standardization, the better for your end users to reduce those errors. So,
Exactly.
perfect.
Absolutely.
Our next question and last question to both Melissa and all of us, but I'll start with you, Melissa.
Thank you.
If healthcare leaders want to take one step today to create a better supply chain transparency, where should they start, and what advice do you have?
Yeah. So definitely I'm going to talk data standards. If you're not using them today, I highly suggest that you investigate and start using them, especially around UDI. As I mentioned earlier, the ARM, UDI, there's the learning community for UDI that is a wealth of information. We know that standard has progressed over the years. It's not exactly where it needs to be, but this cross collaborative of people, including myself, my competitors, we have GPOs, we have the data vendor, the data providers, third-party data providers, manufacturers, distributors are part of this group where we truly are trying to work together for the greater good and get us to a place where we have a one-to-one relationship with the UDI and what that product is for easy identification. Think about recalls. I mean, my whole goal here at Infor is we should be able to source it, store it, send it, and transact on it. I mean, ultimately, that should be the standard that we are all striving towards. I don't want to discount, like GMDN and, that categorization schema, definitely important when you're doing supply categorization, very similar to the unspec. But UDI, we definitely need to get more of the providers involved to help us drive this standard to the place where we all know it should be. Kelly, I do want to do a bit of a public service announcement to those customers out there that are still sitting on-prem solutions. If I could give the on-prem audience, one piece of advice as they're looking to cloud, please, I am pleading with you to really pay attention to the operations that are happening today. Pay attention to your data. The foundation of your cloud implementation is so critical. And the other thing I really encourage them to do is to think differently when they're, truly think like this, like transformation. Because I personally have seen too many customers that really didn't embrace, they really didn't, learn about the new functionality. They didn't embrace change management. They did not move in that direction. And unfortunately, you're somewhat limited and you can't really gain all the value from the system because the system is designed the way that you work, the way these business processes work. So, and again, data, pay attention to data. I believe data is the foundation of all operations, and it is so worth it to invest in that before moving to a new system. And one other thing, if you are an Infor customer and you are not using contract management, you need to. It's so power. Again, I will talk to anyone. Contact your CSE, contact your partners, at HyBridge to help you. But we have seen so many people where the setup, they've had to go and in order to maximize the functionality, the setup needs to be redone. I'm sure you guys have seen it as well, but for those customers out there that are not maximizing contract management and you're not using it as that source of entry for your products and attributions, I'm sure any of us on this panel would be willing to talk to you guys about the benefits that your operations and your data can get if you do.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, and Melissa, earlier you mentioned some partners like Symmetric or GHX that will help with that data cleanse. I think it's a very valuable tool. to use because they do have access to those industry standards,
Yep.
the descriptions, the UDI, the G10s, all those things that we put into those item master and contract items that help with that data standardization. And as you mentioned, going from if you're going from a V10 to FSM, they will definitely be an invaluable resource to help you cleanse your data so that you come into FSM with a clean data set.
Yeah,
Absolutely
absolutely.
agree. And I know we're talking a
Yeah.
lot about just item master,
Hmm.
right? But vendor
Yeah.
cleanse is very important as
Oh,
well
right.
because that impacts your
Yeah.
suppliers and what you're loading. I've run across so many bad vendor files. So doing your item cleanse and your vendor cleanse pre-Cloud Suite would be wonders for anybody.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
yes, I agree, Melissa. Utilize contract management.
Yes.
I do. I do. And again, to the third party, I'm a data geek. I prided myself on keeping my masters clean and the technologies that are used to go get the data and then attribute the data. I mean, there's some of the advanced technologies that not a lot of providers have access to today. So, to Jim's point, I do not believe in one-time cleanses. You need
Nope.
the ability to
Continuous.
keep the
It
data
is an
updated, and
yeah.
Absolutely.
that's what these solutions provide. But
It
again,
is an
Absolutely.
ongoing struggle.
yes,
Absolutely.
yep, yep.
This was wonderful. Thank you two so much. Thank you again, sharing your insights on how healthcare organizations can navigate rising costs, improve data visibility, and take meaningful steps towards stronger supply chain transparency. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Be sure to check out the rest of the On Horizon series for more conversations to help you stay ahead of the game. See you next time.